Hi, I'm Mary from Art Makes Life Merry, and I have been teaching elementary art for about 25 years. For about 8 of those years, I was teaching from an art cart. And at some points, I was teaching in 3 different buildings, and I had a cart at each one of those 3 buildings. So I have some ideas and some tips and techniques to share with you if you are working from an art cart instead of having your own art classroom. So the first thing is the cart itself. And so I really liked the Rubbermaid cart, and they're also created by Uline, I've seen. So it is a heavy-duty cart made from molded plastic. So this one is, I believe, about 40 inches long and about 24 inches wide and about 32 inches high. So that's a good height, and it's got the edges along the shelves so that the objects on the shelves aren't going to slide off as much. And the shelves on this one are 2, but I did have one cart that had 3 shelves, so 1 in the center. So on the cart that I did not have the middle shelf, I created my own shelf by using 2 of these plastic crates, and then that way I was able to have a middle shelf on my art cart at that building. So one building actually had the middle shelf, and then the 2 other buildings did not, so I used that. So I definitely would recommend the plastic just because it's less noisy. You know, rolling your cart down the hallway, not fun if you're making noise. So I also have a diagram that I put in one of my lesson plan folders to explain how the cart was used and where things were. So this was helpful for if I had a substitute teacher, and just this was the basic outline. So attached to the cart itself, so the cart is down here, okay, attached to that above, I basically created my own easel. So how I did that is I took a piece of foam core board and attached it to the front part of the highest shelf. And I mostly used a few strips of the foam core board, and then I also used hot glue to stick those together. It was probably like 2 sheets thick of the foam core board, and then also packing tape. So I attached all those together so that it was flush against the front of the art cart. And so that I attached to the front. Then at the very top, I put these ring clips that went through the top of the board, and then attached to those ring clips I used large sheets of tag board. So that way, if I was doing a different lesson for a different class, I could just pull up the tag board and lift it over. And then also on the foam core board itself, I attached a large piece of dry erase paper. So I used that as my own dry erase board on my foam core. So in case, if at the end of class we had time to play the Guess the Picture game, I could just flip over to that last paper, which was my my foam core sheet, and then we could use that with a dry erase marker. A student could come up to the board and draw a picture, and then other students in the class would guess what they were drawing. So I would often do that at the end of class as a reward for good behavior, and also I would do that if I needed to go to the other part of the room and clean out the brushes. If we were cleaning up with paint, from using paint, that was always a good way to keep the students engaged and busy while I was quickly rinsing out the brushes so that I could, or sponging off the tables so that their classroom was in order before I left. So now the lesson itself was always on this big piece of tag board. So like I said, I might have more than one lesson going on, so I would be able to flip over. So the lessons, I did show a different video, but I will just to give you an idea, again, pretty much the same basic format every time. I would have the artist example, and then the artist's name, the title of the artwork, and the art style, and any pertinent vocabulary words for that lesson. And then on the other side of the paper, I would have the project itself. Usually at the top is day 1, and then down at the bottom is day 2. So day 1 being usually drawing and outlining, day 2 being painting or coloring, or using whatever medium we have planned for that project. So my sheets of tag board needed to be big enough to hold this size paper, which is, let's see, 12 by 18. Yes, 12 by 18 and 12 by 18 put together. So we've got 18 by 24. Okay, so that's what the basic lesson would look like. Now, if we were doing, okay, let's go back to the cart though. I really wanted to get the cart design explained. So, now this, when I was doing the cart full-time like this, we were not using quite so much video and Google Slides, things like that. So, during COVID though, there was the possibility that I may need to go onto a cart again. So, what I had planned was, on the front, this foam core board, but on the back side of the cart, I was thinking I would set up a large television screen attached to my Chromebook, and then if I wanted to show something on Google Slides, or if I wanted to show one of my YouTube drawing videos, I would be able to just turn the cart around and use the back side. If I wasn't able to access the True Touch screen or the Interwrite board in those classrooms I was going into. So as a backup and as a way to utilize technology into the art cart, I think I would have done that. So I mean, that would have probably cut down a little bit on some of my storage space on my cart, but I think probably would have been worth it. Now I did at this time also use DVDs that had some of my drawing lessons on them. So I actually had a separate cart with the television screen and a DVD player that I would roll around my basic art cart, and then also roll that DVD player TV cart right behind it. It's actually in some of the classes I did use their television screen and their DVD player, or sometimes their internet board with their computer had a DVD slot on it too. So as technology changes, we adapt. Okay, so I wanted to show you, so on the back side of this top shelf, behind, my visuals, I would have the white paper ready to go for the classes that I was going to, and my basic desk supplies, so like my stapler, my pencil, my dry erase marker, pen, class lists, just anything that you would think you would have on your desk handy, like a pair of scissors, teacher scissors, anything that you use, a lot during the school day. That was basically my desk. My desk was the top shelf. So then the middle shelf had my lesson plan binder, and then also next to that was the class folders. So most of the classrooms that I went to had the students grouped into 5 or 6 maybe students at a table, maybe 4 students at a table, and so I would have a table folder for each table in that room, and so if I needed to collect the students' work from day 1 and then hand it back on day 2, I could just do it in that table folder. And then one extra folder for that class. So for example, I would just use regular manila folders, so I'd have one for each table, if they were the red table, or however they would designate the different tables in their classroom. Table 1, table 2, whatever. And then just another one of these same folders just around it for that class, grade 1, Mrs. Smith, whatever. So then all those table folders would be together. So that would be a big pile. Also on my cart in the middle shelf. And then basically the rest of the, and I also had some laminated paper, black laminated paper, that I would use to cover the desks in case if we were painting, or using the Sharpie markers, that I would have a way of covering the tables so that we didn't get any marks on the tables. So that was the black laminated paper. And then I think everything else was my basic art supplies. And I did try to have the students start each class at the rug area in their classroom, just because then they were away from any of the distractions at their tables. And I often started my lessons with a story, so we were already at the rug ready to, see what the project was for the day, and then explain the vocabulary words, go through the lesson just as I normally would if I was in my own art room, and then start to do the story right there on the rug, and then after that go to the tables to do the work. Oh, also hanging along the side of the cart was my schedule. So that was an easy place to find the schedule, again, for myself, and then later for a substitute teacher, then be able to see my schedule just hanging right there. So I believe that's pretty much everything. I did have a few emergency plans that I would have taped to the back side of that foam core board, and the seating charts were again on that top shelf, like that was like my desk area. So that was part of my my desk area, was the class lists and the seating charts. Okay, so as for supplies, so on days when we were painting, I do recommend the Tempera Cake paints, and I would even go so far very often to just, because I had mostly kindergarten when I was on a cart, some first grade, a little while, maybe some second grade, maybe 1 3rd grade mixed in there, but for the most part I was with kindergartners. So a lot of times I would even just use just the warm colors for a project, and then on another project just the cool colors. That would keep things cleaner and neater, and you know, less mixing of the paints on their artwork. So I do recommend the Tempera Cake paints. They hold up really well, they last a long time, and you know, they are more durable than watercolor paints, and you get pretty much the same effect. And then also, because I was using like just warm colors or just cool colors, sometimes I wouldn't even be able to clean out the water. One of my art on a cart situations was using the cart in the foyer, and there was no water. So in the foyer. So I would, it was a beautiful foyer though. Lovely windows. It was a nice big space. Plenty of room for all the teaching that I needed to do, and for the tables and the chairs, even the reading rug. It was a great space, just no water. So I would just get the water nearby in the locker room, I think, mostly was the closest place there. I would get just enough for, well, I only had to do 3 classes, I think, in a row, maybe 4 sometimes in that situation. Just a little bit of water, because in case if there were any spills, and then a nice size brush usually was the number 8 size brush, so a nice medium size brush. And now very often I also give students a tiny brush, and so this one's probably about a size 4. So, and I do like these clear cups now, because the kids do love to peek and look at the watercolors, so now we don't have to tip it anymore to look. We can see right through in these nice clear containers from the Dollar Tree. You can get usually 3 in a package. Okay, so that's one of the other things that I like to do. And again, when I was just using warm colors, then I wouldn't have the time to go switch out the water, so I could just stick with the same water for the 3 classes or 4 classes, and it would be fine. All right, if I did though need to use other colors, I could, you know, dump out this water. I did have a gallon of water that I would just, you know, pitcher that I would just use to refill cups if I needed to, if I had the time. So that's for painting. For sculpture, Model Magic Clay is amazing. I have a lot of videos on that, and using markers to color the clay and mix the color with the white. You can make a lot of great things with this, and even just using just a half a package, you can make some really great sculptures. So I recommend that for art on a cart. My basic crayons, and I would use these containers again from the Dollar Tree. I think you can get 3 of them together, usually in 3 lids. And I didn't usually use the lids because you could stack them up better without the lids. A package of 24 crayons. You can get a lot of nice colors with that. Usually about 50 cents for a package of those crayons. And I do love the Ticonderoga, my first pencil. I love these thicker, big pencils. They don't get mixed in with the kids' art supplies or any of their supplies. If you're going into the classroom, I always felt, don't use anything from the room, just use what's on your cart. That way nothing gets mixed together. And if you leave a pencil behind, if it's a nice big one like this, they know that it's yours. And a nice eraser also. I like the School Smart. I like the white erasers. I think they work better usually on the paper than the pink erasers. And of course our basic Crayola markers and the basic colors, and just nice sturdy bins that will stack up on your art card. So those are the basic supplies that I would use. I also enjoyed using oil pastels and art sticks. But I wanted to wrap this up because I know this video is going really long. If there are any questions that you have about art on a card, I might actually also think of some more lessons that I used specifically for the cart, and maybe some more tips and techniques on another video. But I wanted to give you the basics of how I set up the cart, and it worked really well for a long time. And so I hope that's helpful for you, and I hope you have a really great day, and I hope you know that you are doing a fantastic job as an art teacher. All right, thank you.